Tower American 95, 10 miles out on the ILS.
American 95, Kennedy Tower, falling elbow 319 ahead, 1050.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. I'm DerTebbers. This is your Flight Simulator X Spotlight. That is a Bell 47. That's a helicopter we've done before. Why are we doing it again? Well, you'll notice I said Spotlight. I didn't say Plane Spotlight because it's not a spotlight about planes. No. This Spotlight is about scenery. This is the very first time I have ever done payware in this series, but I thought this was worth it. Let me put this up front right now. This is a $20 piece of payware. I would suggest, if that price seems a little bit much for you, wait for it to go on offer. I picked it up much cheaper than that, but I think it's actually worth 20 bucks. It was the very first time I picked up payware, so I was kind of scared. So we are at Friday Harbor. This is from Orbix, O-R-B-X. These are a very good house for scenery. Just about anything that these guys make is absolutely amazing. I covered their free Piece of Portland DLC. It's free. Yes, it's free. It's at their website. I'll put their website even on here. But that is a beautiful piece of scenery for Portland if you're into going to Portland. But here we are at Friday Harbor. Now, Friday Harbor is pretty boring and bland in reality. There's nothing really here, but look at this flight line. You got yourself a King Air. You got yourself a couple Cessnas, a couple, looks like some Cherokees or Piper. Some, that might be, I don't know what that is. There's a jet there. There's a turbine-powered Cessna there. Now, the one thing I will say is the taxiway, okay? That taxiway is darker from a distance than the runway. You will probably accidentally make an approach on the taxiway. I'm just saying it may happen. I might have done it. It's possible. This is very, very nice. Now, you'll notice that hill right there. See that hill right in front of us there? That hill's not there in the base Friday Harbor. I want to call it scenery, but it's not. Friday Harbor boredom is what it is. And then that hill back on the backside, it seems a lot closer. So it's kind of scary when you get in here and you're like, oh my gosh, that hill's so much closer. I got to take off so much faster. On the bright side, that big building that sits at the end of the runway and the base scenery is gone. That's a good thing because you won't hit it. It's a very nicely done area around here. All these little aircraft sitting on the aprons really lends itself to the look. There's even a little cafe down there. At night, it's beautiful. I'm not going to show you the nighttime stuff because, yeah, we got a lot to cover because it's not just the Friday Harbor Airport. No. Let me pull up the map. Oh, good Lord, that is small. All right, let's see if I can zoom that in. Oh, that's not what I wanted to grab. Okay, zoom in. Can I make you bigger? Oh, you're that big. All right, so right about here, maybe? No. All right, so the entire island of Friday Harbor. Well, it's not the island of Friday Harbor, but the entire island that Friday Harbor is on. I'm trying to get it around there. So this entire island is included in the pack. That includes all of these other airports. So let's go visit one of them. Let's not crash. Let's start with that. Let's go to 1WA9. That airport is nice and close to us in our helicopter here. So let's head to WA9. Now, you're going to notice at some moments, you may notice jerking in the loading of the scenery. I'm getting a solid 30 frames per second while running Fraps. Fraps is very, very, very heavy on any machine. Without Fraps, I was getting between 90 and 120 frames per second, even with the Orbix DLC in. So that's excellent. Without the Orbix DLC, I get between 120 and 160 frames per second flying out of Friday Harbor usually. So the loss is most people won't even notice it, honestly. So we're approaching 1WA9. If you notice, it's right there. Okay, there's something really that I absolutely love about this. We're going to get lower here and try not to die in the process. So there's a couple things actually I really love about this. First, you'll notice there's a fence down there. That is actually a barbed wire fence. When we get up and close and personal to it, you'll actually see it actually is a really well done barbed wire fence. But there's something else. I need to not hit a tree, and we need to go forward. Haha. Those are things that we need to actually do. Let's go, helicopter. Onward, helicopter! Alright, we're going to land at the bottom of 1WA9. Whoa. And I do actually mean the bottom. Are you ready for this? Because this actually is a pretty big deal. Okay, we're going to go down to land. Let's actually land on the runway. It's a good idea. Alright. You see it yet? Do you see that this runway is not flat? It actually is sloping up. Haha. Now, to some people you're like, so what? It slopes up. Well, the thing is, it doesn't just slope up. Look, it slopes right to left. Now, when you land something like a Piper Cub on here, or a Maul, or a Cessna, or something like that, it actually reacts pretty darn well to this contour. Now, this contouring really makes this an interesting little airport. You actually would always land this direction, obviously because there's trees there, and you'd want to turn around at the end of the runway and take off in the same direction because uphill, downhill. But it's really nice. Notice also, as it just loads in a little bit, there's actually a hump right past this road, right about where my rotor head is right now, is about the peak of the runway, and then it goes downhill past that. That's really great. That's interesting texturing. It's not something you get in the stock game. And I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's really, really cool. Really neat addition. But that's not all that we get here with this pack. We need to go find ourselves... Hi, there we are. We need to go find ourselves another airport. Let's go to SWA7. SWA7 should have what I'm looking for. Somewhere. We'll find SWA7. Now the trees have been increased, the tree density has been increased, the tree detail has been increased. When you download it, if you buy it, you get the orbit's scenery, you get the asset pack, and then you get another tool that you won't really know you get because you don't see it anywhere. If you're in Steam, you go to the tools section instead of the software section, and you will find, oops, we've missed SWA7, it's over here. Is it? Hello. Come on. Uh-oh. It's not keeping up with me. All right, go back this way then. Where are we? Where are we? Okay. Really terrible GPS on this helicopter, apparently. Up. I got visual on it. You might not have it, but I do. In the tools section, there is an orbit scenery piece, and you go there and you can actually increase or reduce the amount of assets the game loads. So if your computer isn't super powerful or you have an issue with something, you can actually turn that off within the orbit's scenery manager. It's a great tool to use, so definitely worth making sure you get that piece of software. All right, here's our next area. It is a landing strip for what looks to be a cattle farm. We're just going to buzz this one, at least the beginning of it. Again, you've got barbed wire fences at the front and back. You've got barrels along here to kind of mark where your runway is. See that? Barrels and cones and everything. Not something you would normally see. It is bumpier. When I landed a mall on here, it was a nice bumpy landing. Let's go this way. Which is really great. I loved that it was a bumpy landing. I felt like I was landing on some bush flying land. All right, so down at the end, though, we have something interesting to me. I think it's interesting. It's additional bits and bobs that come with this Orbit's pack. There's a truck down here. And one lone tree, by the way, which will kill you if you're not careful. But there's a truck down here. Just pickup truck sitting at the end of the runway. I think that's really cool. It's a little piece of detail. Might not seem like much, but it's a little piece of detail that makes the scenery pack a little bit more interesting. It gets more interesting, though, in my opinion. Let's go to... let's go to SWA5, which should be this direction. Yes. I'll meet you guys as we get closer to SWA5. This helicopter is not the fastest helicopter in the world, but It's better than walking. All right, here we are into approach on SWA 5. I know this because I've flown this route a few times. I see the stick. The stick would hold the windsock. Now, that might not be realistic in terms of you might not actually have those windsocks there, but it's good for this pack because you can actually identify. Now, this is really cool. So far, we've seen some very static but interesting airports. We've got an airport that slopes up. We've got a completely redesigned Friday Harbor. We've got a airport that's got some bumps with a truck at the end. Well, this one has even more, people. This one has even more. People being the operative word. We actually are going to have some animated personnel. Not personnel, but people, I guess. Animated people at this airport. There's a man there on a bicycle. He's watching us on our approach. Look at that. And then we've got some partiers down here. Camping and partying away. We get close enough, we'll actually see them. We'll scare them with a helicopter. And maybe they're not having a party, but they're certainly hanging out here. Look at that. And look at him. He's talking. Oops. There we go. He's talking away. And while he's talking, he's gesturing, just like you would, expect somebody to gesture. Got some drums. You got some trucks. Now, this runway is just boring little piece of green in the base game, but here we go. We got a guy on a bicycle watching us. We got some interesting people here. Now the cool thing is you can actually make something of this. And this is where it's starting to make something of Flight Simulator X. I can imagine coming in here with a mall or a first aid helicopter or something like that to rescue somebody from this place because they got hurt. That's an interesting thing. I can actually start to build some stories within Flight Simulator X. Something that you can't do in the base scenery because, well, let's just say the base scenery is really boring. All right, now we've got a little flight ahead of us, I believe. Yep. To 2W4. That one's a little bit of a flight. We're going to check out 2W4, 2W7. Then I think we're going to be able to make a jump. There's one more on the coast, and then there's one a good ways away that I think we're going to go and get a faster aircraft for. But I'll get you guys as we come into 2W4. Actually, are we going to hit 2W7 first? No, 2W4. Oh, see that house with that lake right there? Never saw that before. I've never seen that one before. Every time I fly this, and I've flown this many times, I've flown around this island just checking stuff out, like that house right there. I've never seen that house before. I come in different ways. I fly different routes, and I find new things. So there's things to discover all over here, which is what really excites me. We're almost to 2W4, so I'm not even going to go away and come back. It really excites me. It makes this so much more interesting, in my opinion, to kind of fly around in a VFR condition. To just look at the scenery. Now, this does integrate with Orbit's Pacific Northwest, which is a huge scenery overhaul for the entire Pacific Northwest. So it will integrate into that, and that's amazing and very good as well, because if you go and buy that pack, which is expensive, this will just kind of dovetail right in there. All right, we've hit 2W4. 2W4 is very interesting to me. Okay, there's one end of it over there. There is where it ends. There's where the runway ends. But you'll notice this lighter line through here, which is where vehicles drive. So it's somebody's driveway and their runway. Really cool thing about this, by the way. I'm going to go buzz down in here. One, he's got a plane just parked there. But that's not the really cool thing that I like about this. We're going to get right down in here. And because we fly a helicopter, we can kind of move sideways. And, all right. Oop, 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 oop. There we go. All right. So we've got his helicopter there. Or his helicopter. No, that's our helicopter. He's got his plane there, his truck there, his little garage. But he also has a little sign. Private! A little no trespassing. He's got a little house. And out there, it's got a building on the peak, and it's just a nice looking little area. And I like the detail of adding the sign that says private and adding the plane sitting there, the truck sitting there. It's all interesting little things that I think add to the look of the scenery pack. All right, we got to head for 2W7 now. When I first flew to these smaller airports, I was blown away by these little pieces of scenery, things that you don't think about. Moving people, airplanes. I mean, you'd think, airplanes, it's an airport. Of course it'd have airplanes. Okay, I challenge you, go to 2W4 or even Friday Harbor, but 2W4 or 61WA, which we'll get to in a little bit, and see if there's any airplanes there. There won't be. I can promise you that. This one was one of the first ones I flew to after 61WA, and it is what really set the tone for this entire pack for me. Again, this is a $20 pack, so it needs to have a lot of extra little things. And for some people, VFR flying isn't what they're into. They're into IFR flying, high altitude, fast aircraft. If you are, this is not for you. But if you're into just kind of loping along, checking stuff out, this pack is probably going to be quite a lot for you. I mean, and it's only 20 bucks. So, all right, we're flying up on somebody's house. They got a big barn. They got some things there. And, oh, look, some people. Oh, look, a father and son watching you make an approach to their field. I'm not actually going to land on their field, but that's a pretty cool thing to have. Okay, I'm going to land over here then, apparently, because Gibbons. So that's a pretty cool thing. They're watching you make an approach onto their field. That's pretty darn cool. I got their truck there and their little house and another truck over there and little barn. These are all little details that I really love. All right, we got two more airports. Yeah, we got 61WA, and then we got to go get a twin engine something or another to fly to the other one, because I crashed the last time I tried that with the something else. All right, here we are flying our approach into 61WA. I wrestle with using payware anytime. And part of it is you can find so much freeware product out there that sometimes it's really hard to justify payware things. I mean, I'm flying a freeware helicopter right now, which is beautifully done. I have complaints about it, but overall, it's a pretty darn good looking helicopter, and it's free, and it's the best price ever, free. But at some point, you look at stuff like this and you say, well, if I want decent scenery, I might have to pay for it. I went and looked to see if there was really good freeware Friday Harbor DLC, and guess what? There isn't. So if you want really good DLC or add-ons for Friday Harbor, this is really the only way to get it. We're at 61WA, and one of the things I love about 61WA is it makes it feel like a live community, much like the other areas, but you've got a bunch of people, a bunch of cars parked over there, some buildings, looks like some, almost like a mobile home park over there, like trees leading down to it, which looks pretty cool. And then you got yourself these two aircraft, and then you've got some people. Excuse me, some people hanging out. Looks like they almost like are watching you come in the land. Look at that. Yeah. I mean, okay, the boy might be a reused asset, but I don't really care that much. I mean, that's pretty good. That adds to this. They drove out there with their pickup truck. They're checking out their plane, and they'll eventually fly away. And look at this runway. Look at this runway slope. Look at that. Slopes right down to the waterline. If you're flying in an amphib, you can land out there and taxi right up onto the runway if you want to. That's pretty darn cool. Not something you can do everywhere. And that runway slope, again, is a huge thing for me. Seeing actual change in altitude of the runway is important. It's real life. Go look at any runway that's in base Flight Simulator X, and almost every single one of them is perfectly flat. Very few runways are perfectly flat. In fact, none of them really should be, but some of them are. All right, so I need to go get something a little bit faster than this with some wings on it instead of helicopter blades. And then we'll go to the last runway on this island. And I also want to point out something else about the Friday Harbor Airport right up ahead of us, or a couple things actually, and we'll do that from the plane. All right, welcome back aboard. We're on our Pilatus 6C here. Now, one of the things is if you go and look at the base game, it's a flat piece of land coming off the back end of Friday Harbor. Look at that slope coming off of here. Nice built up on the runway. Yeah, really nice that. The one thing I do want to point out, if you look really carefully at the, and we're actually going to take off on this run here. If you look really carefully at the customs building there, you actually can see underneath it. So you can see a car underneath it. It's actually levitated. I pointed that out to the developers. Hopefully they'll fix it by the time you see this. But who knows? But it's still, you look at this, it's just beautiful. You got cars going up into the hills. I can't say enough good things about this scenery pack. I just can't. It's a beautiful piece of scenery. And I think it's well worth you taking a look at. We're going to go look at the last runway on the island of Friday Harbor. In fact, I think this actually has a better... There we go. Aha. This has a better GPS system. So it encompasses this entire island. That's it. Okay. Once you cross out of this island, you're going to leave the area that's encompassed by this DLC. So if you want to leave that area a bunch, you're going to have to go get the more expensive Orbit's Pacific Northwest pack. And when I say more expensive, I do mean a lot more expensive because, that's a lot more. All right, so WA09 is the last runway we're going for. I'll see you when we get closer to it because it's not far, but it's not close either. All right, here we are making our approach. We're going towards WA09, which is on the opposite end of the island from the main. This is one of the... this is the second. This is the only one of two. There's the main and this one are the only two paved runways on the island. Now, the approach to this one is a little bit interesting. If you go straight in, there's actually a tall tree in the way. I actually want to make the approach a little bit off-center because of the tall tree in the way. So we're going to make the approach over this way. And we aim for this opening here, and then we'll have to kick it out, straighten it out onto the runway after we make this landing bit. So that tree right there to the right is actually tall enough to cause a little bit of problem on your glide slope if you go straight in. Whoosh. We're going in at an angle, so we're good. All right, so here's our runway. And notice it's not even a straight runway. Nope, of course not. There we go. Nice, easy landing. All right, brakes on. Now, here we are at this runway. We got ourselves another turbine Cessna there, a little pull off. But what really is amazing, there's a man walking around over there. Oh yeah, nice little man walking around, checking out his doing a little walk around of his, I guess it's a Cessna 152 maybe it's a 172. And there's a couple guys over there having a little chat outside the hangar. Really nice. Maybe he's not doing a walk around. Maybe he's just walking around in circles. Ooh, could be that. And then at the end of the runway here, we've got a collection of aircraft that are parked off the runway, which makes a lot of sense for this particular runway. And you'll notice the runway just kind of curves away. Yeah, this isn't a straight runway by any stretch of the imagination, but it's a little bit of a challenging runway. You would also think, by the way, that you could taxi down to the water. Don't try it. I did. Don't work. The taxi route down to the water has been blocked by houses. I'll get close to the edge here and I'll show you. Now, it doesn't look too blocked there, but I promise you right over that hill line is a bunch of houses that are so close that you'd have to fold the wings of this aircraft. And there's really no other way around here, so you got to kind of make do without doing that. But there we go. Plenty of vehicles driving along. It's a beautiful scenery pack. Again, if $20 scares you away, I totally understand. You can get plenty of enjoyment out of Flight Simulator without the scenery pack. I just thought it was a beautiful piece of scenery. Definitely something to look at if you are ever considering improving Flight Simulator. This is really a way to do it. If you live in the US and if you live in Washington State, this might be a good starting area. There's a few other scenery packs out there, but this one this one feels good for 20 bucks. And if you get it less, like I did, it feels even better. All right, so there you go. Quick flight around the Orbitz Friday Harbor DLC. Again, it's a $20 piece of DLC. I will also put a link to there's a little like touch and go spot right there. I also put a link to this Pilatus PC6C as well as the Bell 47 in the description as well if you want these two pieces of freeware aircraft. Really nice. This one particularly is a great short distance, short STOL aircraft. Beautiful. And the Bell 47, of course, is a nice aircraft as well. Next time, we'll be back with a freeware plane of some sort. Until then, I've been DerTebbers. This has been your Flight Simulator X scenery spotlight of a piece of payware scenery from Orbitz, the Friday Harbor DLC. Till next time, I'm going to go figure out where in the world I'm going to land this plane. I guess I need to go back to where I was. That makes sense.
Level 1283, Kennedy Tower. Greetings. Falling heavy, Boeing 767 touching down. Caution wake turbulence from 05012, number 2, 4 right, settle in.
Going in 4 right, no 1283, copy all.
8 Lima Bravo, traffic just north of the airport, opposite direction along the track routing. A helicopter not under defeat, yes, you in sight.